Well, hello, Kathleen. Welcome to our Tips in 10 Minutes. It's so nice to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you. Kathleen Perley is the Managing Director of Innovation at Unlock. She has a really cool role there and a really cool background, and I've gotten to know her a little bit. So instead of me sharing and introducing you, I'd love for you to just talk to us a little bit about your background and what you do today with Unlock Health.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background actually, when we talk about kind of how you end up in your careers, I oftentimes find myself as an accidental marketer. So my background's actually in linguistics, is kind of what I studied in college. Was working on getting my PhD. I had a very strong and very awesome mom who said, if you live under my roof, you have to have a job. And found my first job in marketing in the digital sector, God, almost 15 years ago, and was there for several years, and then started my own firm, Decode, which is now part of Unlock, where we focus really on the healthcare side of really focusing on helping the healthcare organizations really navigate digital marketing and brand, and really kind of bring together the technology, patient satisfaction, and understanding the patient journey and delivering success.
Leads us to our conversation because, of course, we're hearing so much about the risk of HIPAA compliance with online tracking tools. I think every day we're reading the headlines and hearing the information and being exposed to more cases and things like that are happening. So talk to us a little bit about, in plain language, our love language, in plain language, tell us, what is it? Why does it matter? Why should we care? Kind of, what's at risk? Just give it to us, the kind of the 101 of what's happening.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, back in November of 22, the OCR kind of really published their new, what I'll call guidelines, but really it was like, hey, we understand when it comes to HIPAA, there might have been some gray areas. So we're going to clarify that for you.
Right.
And so what they did is they identified any type of IP address plus a visit to a healthcare website, whether it's preparing for surgery, any type of healthcare website landing page is considered, those two pieces together is considered PHI. And so that new kind of interpretation really posed a lot of questions on a lot of marketing tactics, because they weren't just concerned about existing patients or past patients. The OCR guidelines actually expanded it to include anyone that would potentially become a patient. So that's where all of our marketers across the board are now getting pulled into, where we used to say, oh, well, this is a marketing tactic. They're not a current patient. We're not at risk. This is now changing that whole dynamic, where you used to have, whether it was your MyChart messaging system, separate, bifurcated, and then your marketing on this side. OCR is now saying IP address plus any type of visit within your organization healthcare website is considered PHI, and that is for anyone who is current, past, or potential future patient. And so that just really broadened the implications that we're seeing from that perspective. And so we've been dealing with that for a while. And then, recently in July of 23, the FTC, so the Federal Trade Commission, is now partnering with OCR, and they put out further kind of letters and recommendations in terms of interpretation, where a lot of us were, and mainly more so, not necessarily on the healthcare provider side, more on what I'll call like healthcare adjacent industries, that if you are leveraging an opt-in communication that says, hey, by, continuing on this browser, you click opt-in, we have the ability to resell your data and share data back different platforms, things of that nature. The OCR and the FTC said that our consumers don't know enough to willingly opt into that. So even if you have those opt-in language and infrastructure in place, that's not good enough. And you still have to have that parameter put in place, that any type of IP address plus any type of website content is considered a kind of PHI information and should be handled as such in terms of data security and privacy. And so it just has really shifted and put, before IT security, HIPAA compliance was more of a concern as it pertained to internal operations, your EMRs, things of that nature, to in the front lines for marketing teams, which has been really incredible to see how, they've had to navigate and learn something net new again.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, how can we do our jobs, right? I mean, it's just completely changing the nature of how our work gets done. I mean, what are some like quick, easy tips? Are there any easy tips? Like what are maybe 2 or 3 things that a healthcare marketer can do today to just be prepared or, advance their strategy with these things in mind so that they don't put their work at risk?
Yeah, so I would say the first thing to do is there's a tool called built.com or builtwith.com. And what you can do is you can actually plug in, it's a free tool. You can plug in your domain, like your website, your healthcare website, and it'll give you an output of every single type of, GA4, if you're using Cloudflare, Google Translate, Google Fonts, it'll give you every single type of pixel that is on the site. And I found that, starting there and saying, okay, I think about it in terms of, when I clean out my closet and you have like that sweater that didn't fit like 6 years ago, but for some reason you still think might one day fit, still hanging out.
Yeah.
And it's about like cleaning the closet almost away and like using that tool to really go through and say, okay, there's a pixel on our site from a campaign we ran 3 years ago. Do we need to reevaluate? Do we need it? What are some of the data? What data is being passed to the other platforms? Is that based on the new OCR guidelines, kind of a PHI information that we have to obscure? And really kind of creating the opportunity to have that larger conversation. So the first thing I always recommend is just go to builtwith.com, plug in your domain, and it's like the easiest thing to do is just you can actually export it to an Excel spreadsheet. It's very easy. And the free tool gives you enough information to be dangerous. And then I think the second part that I really would love to see marketers kind of lean into from that perspective is building a relationship with IT and compliance, right? As somebody who's had a background in data and technology and kind of data-driven marketing as a whole, my biggest fear when all this came out was like, oh no, are we going to go back to the days of, well, this doctor likes this and wants this platform, so we're going to have to use it because we have no data to share as to why we're making certain decisions, no data to help drive efficiencies of our ad dollars. And so I almost and selfishly, I'm like, please let us not backslide into the old days of healthcare marketing. And I think for us to do that, the healthcare marketers have to take a proactive role in building that relationship with IT and legal. And this audit report is a great way to start the conversation and build that relationship.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Because you can go to them and say, hey, there's Cloudflare. Like, how are you using Cloudflare? Can you help me understand this?
Right.
And it also shows, and you guys can start having conversations as, do we need this data pixel on our site?
Right.
What information do we need out of it to make data-driven marketing decisions? Do we have BAs in place? If not, can we? Or are there other options?
It sounds like there would be lots of benefits to just doing that practice. I mean, in addition to this, is just really understand. It's like almost auditing some of the content and knowing what comes out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really easy. And there's other benefits too, right? We've done this a couple of times and we've seen core web vitals jump after we've kind of gone through the audit and remove stuff, because when we talk about technical debt and cumulative layout shift, when as it pertains to core web vitals, like this is impacting your SEO too. So not only you're able to get more compliant, you're also improving your experience for the visitors to your site.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that would be, doing the audit, getting to know and building a relationship and not just a one and done, but kind of an ongoing piece with your kind of counterparts on IT and compliance, I think is a good second step.
Yeah.
And then I think the third part is really like putting everything on lockdown and then developing some data governance. So one of the, we work with a lot of our partners and helping them kind of navigate this, one of the things that we look at is who has access to the site, what admin and roles are set up in place, who can add pixels and data tracking, is there an approval process? If not, let's help you guys implement one where you actually have a meeting, whether it's once a month or every 2 weeks, where anytime anything new needs to get added to the website, not talking about content, but more like kind of stringent things like we're going to add this pixel for a campaign we're going to launch, or we're going to leverage a new technology from a find a doctor perspective. And do we have a BA in place there? Things of that nature. And really kind of developing a way to review all the things that we're going to be putting in place, and then setting up the infrastructure for the teams to kind of really collaborate and say, okay, marketing, what is your opinion? IT and compliance, and then everyone being on the same page on the sign off and then implementing. Because I know with a lot of the challenges we've seen in the industry, oftentimes when we've had partners who've had challenges from a kind of a legal perspective, it wasn't because marketing failed to do something, it was oftentimes, oh, there was a microsite that we haven't touched in 7 years and I completely
Right.
forgot it existed.
Yeah.
Or a rogue actor within the organization who had more access than they probably should have, that would unknowingly, like not intentionally, unknowingly said, oh, hey, our vendor asked us to add this code into our website for them to run SEO.
Well, you can see it was so easily how that can happen, right?
Oh,
I mean,
it's so easy.
That happens all the time.
And I think oftentimes, I always say that, marketing sometimes, the marketing department sometimes gets the scapegoat. They're the scapegoat on some of these things. And it's not necessarily, them, right? And so building that alliance with security and IT really helps start to have those conversations and being on the same page, so that when something does happen, you've done your inventory, you've identified all the microsites, you've identified all the tracking codes, and then you've really gone through who needs access to what type of access, and then how are we going to moving forward go through this in terms of not only staying up to date on new state legislation that's coming down as it pertains to privacy and patient protections, but really how do we approve certain data stores and where do we need to send data and how we're using it.
Yeah, I like that you have outlined sort of not only the 3 tips, but kind of like a work plan. So it's not just these 3 things, but here are the tools that you need to make those 3 things work really well. It's kind of like, I wonder too, if other organizations have created sort of councils around this, where you have all the right stakeholders participating together in a regular sort of workflow and auditing practice to come together and see, because it's not just a one and done. Like you said, this is an ongoing practice, and to have discipline around looking and analyzing and talking about it as often as possible. So
yeah, and when we partner with a lot of healthcare organizations on implementing and kind of really helping them implement the technology, implement the infrastructure, the governance, the process side of it, part of our role is really to help bring the teams together and to stay up to date. So when we talk about, compliance, especially as it pertains to patient data and privacy and security, right? It's not only a financial challenge for health systems, but also a reputational one. And so you don't want to be seen as being flat-footed or passive. You want to be seen as an organization that's trying to proactively get in front of it. You don't want to be the one that's like, oh, wait, Google Fonts might pose an issue after 4 other health systems have gotten sued, versus really thinking about these things proactively. And it's interesting, like that free audit, the amount of times that we run those and we start having the conversations, IT can't be like, oh yeah, we added that in to kind of help us understand like site performance. But honestly, we're not really using it. So they're saving money, we're reducing the risk. And you're able to say, okay, great, let's pull that out. Or we were working with a partner the other day and we ran the audit, and I said, it says that you're still leveraging Google Translate, which is not in itself necessarily a negative thing. But when you look at like the data calls and where it's sending data and pushing data, they are sending the URL of the page, the content on the page, and the IAP address of that person, which according to OCR is kind of a PHI event. And we don't know what Google's going to leverage that data for. In theory, they should not be using it for advertising or marketing, but we don't have control over that.
Right.
And so it's interesting how, as you kind of peel the onion, you find things. And we had a conversation and I said, okay, one, Google Translate effectiveness and efficiency and kind of accuracy is not super high. Help me understand how we're using it. And they actually identified they're going to start building 2 conversion landing pages for certain audiences with just enough information, and then call center, like, the right phone numbers to talk to somebody in language and culture that can help navigate them through the health system, versus trying to translate the entire site from front to end.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so it's a very interesting kind of dynamic. Onion that you keep pulling back.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that it's like, you've got this really complex, complicated situation, and you're kind of creating a common language between all these different parts of the organization that speak different languages, IT and compliance and law and marketing. I mean, they all have their sort of lingo and language, and kind of bringing them together with shared understanding is important. And I think that initial audit kind of gives people a little bit of a place to start. So with that in mind, we're actually over our 10 minutes. It goes really fast, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
But I know you have more to share, and it's just obviously a very rich topic with a lot to discuss. So you'll be speaking at HCIC. Is that right? So we know, and we'll be able to plug some more information about what your session is and the time and day. webinar coming up in mid-November. So I think we'll also have a registration link for that, more data on this. So we'll keep the conversation going and know that there'll be more questions. And then of course we'll leave, if you're open to it, your contact information, if anyone has any questions. And I really, really appreciate you jumping in and sharing your expertise. And I know we'll be tapping you, I'm sure, for a lot more.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to kind of nerding out and talking a little bit more about this for anyone who wants to.
All right. Sounds good. We'll see ya. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bye.
Take care.